Good morning, everyone. Just a few reminders before we officially start. We kindly request to keep all phones on silent for the duration of the event. In case of an emergency, such as the occurrence of an earthquake, please stay calm. You shall be ushered in vacating the area to the designated evacuation area. Lastly, we want to hear your honest feedback about ALS so we can continually improve it. Please accomplish our evaluation form later via QR code attached in the program brochure. Our esteemed lecturer has arrived. We will begin. DFA officials, members of the Diplomatic Corps, FSI colleagues, guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are very happy that you are spending your precious time this morning with us. Today is a great day to come together and learn from each other as we welcome you to this month's Ambassadors Lecture Series, a platform for heads of diplomatic missions in Manila to share their knowledge and expertise, experiences, and advocacies. It aims to build stronger bridges of understanding that will lead us to insights, actions, and deeper appreciation of our relations to continue achieving our shared goals of cooperation, economic development, and peace. I am Arian Mendoza, your Master of Ceremony for today's event. To officially begin the program, allow me to introduce our guest lecturer for this morning. Our speaker for today is the Ambassador of Romania to the Philippines. Her Excellency Răduţa Matache presented her credentials as Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Romania to the Philippines on December 15, 2021, to the then President of the Philippines, His Excellency Mr. Rodrigo Roa Duterte. On April 17, 2023, she was concurrently accredited as Ambassador to Palau, resident in Manila. On October 15, 2024, she was accredited as non-resident ambassador to the Republic of the Marshall Islands. A career diplomat, Her Excellency has over 32 years of experience in the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Romania. Since 1992, she held different positions in Bucharest, including as Desk Officer for the Stability Pact for Southeastern Europe, Deputy Director for the OSCE, Director for Analysis and Strategic Coordination, Director of the NATO Division, and Secretary of State for European Affairs. As a diplomat, Her Excellency was posted in Washington, D.C. from 1996 to 2000, and London from 2004 to 2008, including as Chargé d'Affaires ad interim from 2006 to 2008, and was the Ambassador of Romania to Sweden from 2009 to 2015. Her Excellency is educated at the Electronics and Telecommunications Faculty in Bucharest, Romania, from 1982 to 1987, is an International Relations graduate of the National School for Political and Administrative Studies in Bucharest from 1990 to 1992. She also has a Master of Arts in European Integration from the University of Limerick, Ireland from 1992 to 1993, and completed the London-based Royal College for Defense Studies program for mid-career officials from January to December 2003. Before being appointed to Manila, Her Excellency was National Correspondent to the International Organization of La Francophonie from 2017 to 2021 in the Romanian Ministry for Foreign Affairs. Beside Romanian, her mother tongue, Her Excellency is fluent in English and French and has some knowledge of Swedish with a B2 certificate and Spanish with a B1 certificate. She is married to Constantine. To share with us this morning her insights on how do we nurture bilateral relations, case study Philippines-Romania cooperation, please join me in welcoming the Ambassador of Romania to the Philippines, Her Excellency Răduţa Matache.
Francisco Noel Fernandez, Director General of the Foreign Service Institute, Your Excellency, Ambassador Manalo, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors of, in random order, Morocco, our Vice Dean, Netherlands, Sri Lanka, and Ireland, as well as colleagues, dear colleagues from other embassies, and very distinguished colleagues from the DFA. I welcome you all here. It's a great honor for me to be invited. Timing is not maybe ideal because some of us may have a hangover from the yesterday's Christmas party or beautiful concert, but I hope we'll focus a little bit on the case study of Romania. I've been Romania's ambassador to the Philippines for the last 3 years, and I pray every day that I get to fulfill my mandate, which is 4 years. And I could even get a bit of a renewal if I'm lucky. So I love it here like most of the diplomats that work in Manila in the Philippines do. Of my 32 years with the Foreign Ministry, one of the best years was the year I spent at the Institute for Diplomatic Relations, which is a structure very similar to the Foreign Service Institute. And actually, the Foreign Service Institute and our similar structure, they have a memorandum of understanding signed in 2015. And this reminds me that one point of my mandate is to make sure that we fill the MOU with substance. And I promise we'll do it. My plan for the time allotted to us is the following. I would like to address 3 issues. I will tell you briefly where we are now, where the Philippine-Romania relations are, what if we have a contentious issues, and I can give you a spoiler alert, no contentious issues for the moment, just a common desire to develop relations. Secondly, we'll make a very brief incursion into the history of bilateral diplomatic relations, but I promise it will be short. And finally, together with you, I hope that based on this small case, Philippine-Romania relations, 2 countries far away from each other, but 2 countries who've had exceptional relations and who want to build exceptional relations again. Based on this case study, we will try together to draw some lessons that maybe you can apply with regard to any bilateral relation that you will take care in the future. So these are my 3 points, after which you may ask me any question. So where are we today? Let me tell you a few words about Romania. How many of us have been to Romania? Yes, we've got 4. Wonderful. So it's a good start. I hope next year everybody will raise their hand. This is Romania, a country of 19 million, totally different scale from the Philippines. A country that was a democracy in between the 2 world wars. That's 1918, when the modern Romanian state was formed, up to 1939, when the whole Europe was engulfed in the Second World War. And then from 1989 up to the day. Are we, Romania, a perfect democracy? Far from it. But we've been in a transition since 1989, when the whole Romanian people made a clear choice between dictatorship and democracy. So ever since, we've been trying to build, to consolidate, to improve our democracy. like others do. We are a littoral country to the Black Sea, so let's go quickly through our neighbors. The best neighbor is the Black Sea. We have no problems with it. Sorry. Then we've got the Republic of Moldova. It's the only other country in the world that speaks the same language like us, Romania. And Romanian, when you go to Romania, you'll notice that you understand words. Why is that? Because we have a Latin-based language, Romance language, like Italian, like French, like Portuguese, like Spanish. So we have quite a few words that you use here. I mean, what comes to my mind is, castana, pantalon, and probably many others. Good. So Latin language also spoken in Moldova. During history, we were together. For the time being, we are two independent states. Romania, member of the European Union and NATO, proud about it. Moldova, having recently made a very clear choice to join the European Union. Actually, Moldova was a very disputed territory during its history, disputed by Romania or Europe or the empires that were here, and of course, Russia. And the story is not over. We have the longest land border with Ukraine of all the European countries. You hear a lot about the border between Poland and Ukraine. We have a longer one, so it's the longest land border that Ukraine has with any country. The border is here, and we've got several kilometers there. And then, of course, we have Hungary, member of European Union and NATO. We have what we call the country that we never fought with. It's Serbia. We've always had good relations with Serbia, with Yugoslavia. And then Bulgaria, again, a fellow European Union and NATO member state. From here, somewhere, up to the Black Sea, you've got the longest stretch of the biggest river in Europe. The biggest river in Europe, if you don't consider the whole of Russia, Europe, the biggest river in Europe is the Danube. So 2,000 something kilometers of the river Danube constitute the border of Romania. If we look at the bigger map, well, maybe it's not the ideal map, but it will tell us. Romania is at a crossroads in a way. We are part of Europe. In color, you have the European Union and NATO. You've got Norway as well. If you look, we've got Turkey here, hugely important strategical country. We are neighbors with Turkey over the Black Sea, and so are we neighbors with Georgia over the Black Sea. So you may say, through Turkey, we are close to the Middle East. We have a lot of Middle Eastern influences. We feel every earthquake that happens there, everything that happens there. We debate to this day whether we are a Balkan country or not. When you say a Balkan country in Europe, it has a lot of disputable connotations. So some of us accept we are part of the Balkans, others don't. But, we are there. And Southeastern Europe, to which we belong, is an area where we have good relations, where we are trying to be very active. I said I would be short, so we are speaking quickly about Romania-Philippines relations. How are they today? Relations are good. There is a willingness in Bucharest and in Manila to do whatever it takes to improve relations. I will tell you the story and why we are where we are. Do we have a toolbox for improving the relations? Because this is not the job only of the ambassador, the foreign minister. You need support. We now have 2 embassies, one in Manila and one in Bucharest. Again, another story we'll get into. We have an exceptional honorary consul of the Philippines in Romania, one of the wealthiest and most successful businessmen in Romania. He is in Brașov, the city where, if you visit, it's one of the touristic spots of Romania. You can have a beautiful Filipino meal with sinigang and turon and anything you want. That's because a lot of the Filipino OFWs are there. So we have an honorary consul in Romania, in Brașov. We have 2 honorary consuls of Romania in the Philippines. And if I tell you their names, you will resonate. One is Sergio Ortiz Luis, president of the Confederation of Exporters, president of a number of important, structures here. And the other one is Grant Benedicto in Cebu, again, a very distinguished businessman. And now, with support from the DFA, we will appoint a 3rd honorary consul in Mindanao, actually in Jensan for the time being, not in Davao. But the honorary consuls are part of our toolbox, as long as we know how to work with them. We also have, as Director Garcia knows very well, we have cooperation structures. We have the bilateral politico-diplomatic dialogue at MFA level, and we try to hold it regularly. We also have a joint economic commission, which hasn't met for a long time, but they will meet next year. And also in our toolbox, there are the organizations that we are part and parcel of. Romania is part of the European Union. And this is, as you know, the European Union is not only an organization. We've pulled our sovereignty in the European Union. The European Union is a special entity. We are part of it, and it multiplies Romania's instruments in diplomacy and in many other areas. And of course, the Philippines has ASEAN, which is a very important organization for you. And in ASEAN, as far as I can understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, the Philippines is quite influential. You are going to have the chairmanship in 2026. You were an exceptional coordinator of the dialogue between the European Union and ASEAN until last year. So you are a country to reckon with in ASEAN. And the fact that the European Union and ASEAN, they are getting closer to each other, they are consolidating relations, reflects positively on any bilateral relation, including on the Romania-Philippines relations. Now, second point. The second point is a brief history, rather story of Romania-Philippine diplomatic relations. We established relations in 1972. And that was revolutionary at the time. Why? Because Romania was a communist country. We were part of the socialist bloc. And you were a country that was clearly a democracy and a member of the free world. As Ambassador Manalo knows very well, the world was divided. We were not supposed to have relations across the Iron Curtain. The Filipino passports at the time, they had a note, not valid for travel in USSR and other communist countries. Do you know what USSR is? Soviet Union, yeah. We forget about it. And when you established relations with Romania, all passports were recalled and new passports were issued in the Philippines because having diplomatic relations, you could travel to Romania. It was normal that the passport prevents you from traveling to Romania. So that was a very wise decision of our diplomacy and of our leaders at the time, including former President Marcos. After us, a lot of countries from our region followed suit, established relations, but we benefited from the fact that we were the first. And Ambassador in Bucharest was somebody that I'm sure you've heard about, Letizia Ramos-Shahani, a revered figure of Filipino diplomacy. But at the time, she was the only woman ambassador in Bucharest. People were really puzzled. A woman ambassador, only men can be ambassador. She was the only woman, and she used this advantage to be more high profile, to push the Philippine-Romania relations really to impressive summits. Later on, in Romania, I would say Letizia Ramos-Shahani changed a bit of mindset because we saw her, because the leaders saw that she can be effective, she can be serious. They thought, oh, maybe women can be diplomats. Up until then, there was no woman ambassador in Romania. Well, and then there were women ambassadors in Romania. Little by little, it started small. And after the revolution, after 1989, there was a drive to ensure gender equality in the foreign ministry, in the diplomatic corps. Now, the same year at the newly opened embassy in Bucharest, there was this lady that, again, you probably have met, called Delia Domingo. And Delia was absolutely amazing. I'm telling you what I've read in archives. She was everywhere. Delia showed up. She knew everybody. She knew the circles of dissenters. There were dissenters in communists, but she also knew the leaders. She was very respected. She was accepted by the artist circles in Romania, which were very influential. And we are speaking, of course, about the future Foreign Affairs Secretary, Delia Domingo Albert. She was like the most junior diplomat, attaché. She shouldn't have been known by anybody. She was known by everybody. And this is why, jumping back to today, because she has been recognized in Romania, and she's a model for every woman diplomat in Romania, the president of Romania conferred to her the National Order of Merit in the rank of commander, which is one of the highest distinctions that we can give to a foreign diplomat. So we'll get back to that. And with these two wonderful ladies and probably a small team, relations between Romania and the Philippines really flourished. After the initial moment, a lot of outstanding Filipino diplomats worked in Romania, and good Romanian diplomats worked in Manila. I meet former ambassadors to Manila in Bucharest, and they miss the weather, they miss the good people. They would happily come back here. So it's a good story. But if you look at what happens in the world in the late 1990, beginning of the year 2000, Romania was very much focused on our accession to NATO and the European Union. It was our mission, being accepted back in the family to which we belong, being accepted that we are Europeans and not Soviets or whatever. You know, it was part of our identity that we wanted to regain. Economically, in those years, Romania was going through a very rough transition for a command economy with no private property. You couldn't own anything except, I don't know, your glasses. Land was state-owned, everything was state-owned. So transitioning from this to a market economy, it's painful. It's really painful. I'm glad we've done it, but I don't wish it to anybody else. Anyway, this is one of the reasons that I see why we sort of neglected our links. I mean, Southeast Asia was so far away, and we wanted to be accepted into Europe. So we were laser focused on one objective. Now what happens, there's a turning point in 2012. The authorities in Manila decided to close the embassy in Bucharest. And did we like it? We didn't. We didn't like it, but the decision in Bucharest was, because the Philippines is an important country from many points of view, we were not going to close down the embassy, and we didn't. It's true, we lowered the level of the head of mission from ambassador to chargé. We left a skeleton staff, but we kept the embassy. And of course, the following year were not very propitious for our bilateral relations. But if we fast forward to 2021, clearly by that time the Indo-Pacific was very much highlighted on the world map. And the decision was taken in Bucharest to raise the level of the embassy, to upgrade the rank of the embassy, to upgrade the rank of the head of mission. So that's how I got to be sent here as fully fledged ambassador. And the clear message that I had as a mandate was do, together with the embassy, whatever is necessary to restore, revitalize, relaunch bilateral relations. It's not right that we neglected each other. And you know, the moment was quite good. Timing is, well, it's luck that determines the timing, but we were lucky. Because in 2022, after the elections, Foreign Secretary Manalo was appointed. There was a normal redefining of priorities, and together, well, under the leadership of President Marcos, the Foreign Secretary decided that the European Union is a good partner for the Philippines, that a table needs at least 3 legs to stand well. You had 2, you needed another one. And also the Foreign Secretary decided to open or reopen embassies in Europe. So afterwards, a decision was taken to reopen Bucharest, to open Helsinki and Dublin, so Finland. And this is part of a bigger movement. Of course, other embassies were opened beforehand. I think Morocco, also embassies in Latin America. But Europe received very well the message, we are reopening. And today, as we speak, we have a fully fledged embassy in Bucharest with an ambassador who was received by the president and accredited very quickly after his landing in Bucharest. We work very well together, so things are looking up. So that's very briefly some chapters of the bilateral relations. I would like to close, before I lose your attention, by saying that This is one of the many relations that you have. Probably not the most important, but an important one, I believe. It's a relationship between countries that have the same values, that both support RBIO. You know what RBIO is? It's the shorthand we use for rule-based international order. We both support it. We both support international law and the application of international law. So, if we take only these two countries, what lessons can we attempt to draw? And I will offer you three, and if you want, you can add to it. To me, the most important thing is a bilateral relationship. It's like life itself. It has ups and it has downs. And it takes a lot of effort and resources, to prolong the upward trend. I think no relationship goes like this up to the skies. It's part of life. But we as diplomats, we need to avoid the downward trajectory because it could become a spiral. Another thing that I believe in, and I'm telling to the young diplomats amongst us, maybe one of you will be foreign secretary one day. Maybe you will have an important word to say. Do not close an embassy. No matter how dire the economic situation is, no matter how much the government wants to impose austerity measures, it's much more cost-effective to keep it there, ticking, having a heartbeat, than closing down, losing everything, relationships, reputation, name, and reopening it. So when you are foreign secretary, think twice before deciding to close an embassy. And also, finally, and it's not only for the women amongst us, for all of us, I believe strongly that any diplomat can make a difference. You don't need to be an ambassador, you don't need to be foreign secretary. And, Ambassador Deli Albert is a shining example for me. She wasn't an ambassador in Romania, but if you go to Romania, she is recognized to this day for what she did, for the fact that she kept alive her, affection for Romania and professional attachment to Romania. So, I've been a junior diplomat. Very often I've been bothered by the fact that my achievements were not recognized and all the credit goes to the ambassador. But avoid this. There's no point in it. If you do good things, they will be recognized. And the best recognition is the fact that you are content with your job. I think I spoke enough. There's a big elephant in the room. Somebody will bring it forward, namely the elections in Romania. Ask me questions if you want. There are many other things I would have liked to touch. Let me just tell you one. Some of the Philippines' best pilots are in Bucharest now. I've seen the picture of Ambassador Noel Servigon offering the first dinner that he hosts in Bucharest to a group of Filipino pilots who are in Bucharest for training on flight simulators that we shall send to the Philippines, hopefully by the end of the year. So a good contract, a good cooperation, and there are many such examples. I hope there will be more in the future. Thank you so much for your attention. Any question is a good question.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that insightful discussion on the Philippines-Romania cooperation. At this juncture, we open the floor for comments and questions. Just a few reminders. Before stating your question, kindly state your name and organization or affiliation. To accommodate a good number of questions, we respectfully request those who would like to participate in the question and answer to raise only one question. Let us begin. The floor is now open. You may approach the microphone in the middle. Anyone? Yes, the gentleman at the back.
Hello. Good morning. I am Jul Patik Ting. I am from the Foreign Service Institute. And I would like to know how does Romania support science and technology and what best practices that the Philippines can learn from it.
I will answer directly. Honestly, I feel much better if I stand because I'm so small. I'm thinking here. Thank you very much for a very good question, which definitely deserves a longer discussion. There's a tradition in Romania, like in many countries of Central and Eastern Europe, to emphasize the role of mathematics and physics in primary education and in education in general. So this is the first step that we've been taking for years. For years, Romania had very good results at international Olympic Games on mathematics and physics. Secondly, we try to make sure that now that we are in Schengen, sort of, not totally, but soon to be totally, we create the conditions in Romania to promote science and technology, because it's very easy for a researcher to be attracted by, better funded laboratories, better funded universities and teams in Western Europe. The European Union has very important programs to support research, like spatial research, research in physics, laser, to which Romania is a part. What can we do together? Well, every year we launch a call for applications for scholarships for university, master or PhD studies. Those who apply and are accepted, they come from all over the world. So what we have to do now is to create the critical mass of Filipino applicants. Because if we have the first wave, we have a few scholarships earned, but mostly individually by Filipinos. We need to have larger numbers because you are competing with everybody in the world. But the scholarships are really good. They cover everything except for the flight tickets. And you can go as a Filipino to the best Romanian university, polytechnical or for fundamental research. And of course, there are other ways in which we cooperate. The Romanian Space Agency, ROSA, is working closely with the Philippine Space Agency. And this was encouraged by the fact that the European Union extended to the Philippines, first and foremost, the only country in Southeast Asia, the Copernicus program, whereby you have been given a mirror image of all the satellite collected information that we share in the European Union. So cooperation between countries. We can speak much more about this, and this is a critical issue that we need to address more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we can entertain one more question from Ambassador Rosario G. Manal.
You'll excuse me, Madam, I don't stand.
Please.
I would like and appreciate very much if you can give us a briefing on human rights observed by your country, particularly the implementation of the Convention on the Rights of Children and the Convention on the Rights of Women. And of course, it's still a convention that has not been negotiated, the rights of elderly people. That is still pending. I'd like to have that because I've been involved in the rights of women and I wrote the first draft of SIDA.
Yeah.
And up to this very moment, this is the last time after 15 years of attending the meetings in Geneva. But I anticipate that the European Union, who plays a great role in human rights, would be following up what Southeast Asia is doing. There are only 3 countries who are very serious in Southeast Asia about human rights. And those are the countries, the Philippines, number 1, the second is Indonesia, and the third is Thailand. So I would appreciate having your views on human rights and information of the development of the human rights component of diplomacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. A difficult but very opportunist question, especially as both Romania and the Philippines are member of the Human Rights Council in Geneva now. And as we work together in any UN agency, I'm sure we work together in UNHRC. Romania came out of communism in 1989 with an abysmal record of human rights. I was living in the country. I was a mature person. I was 26 at that time. But we were shocked by what happened in Romania, what the communist regime was doing in a hidden way. The communist regime had banned abortion, and as a result, the country was full of orphanages because there were children born either out of wedlock or, by people who could not afford to bring up a child and who were abandoned in orphanages. The orphanages were in a very bad situation. So that's something that pained us, and that's an issue that we put a lot of resources into. We knew that this spot on our country has to be removed. Nowadays, we are considered to be, I don't like to say a model, but a country that has succeeded to overcome this problem. Given that, like everywhere in Europe, the demographics in Romania are quite concerning. The number of children being born is much lower than the number of deaths. So we have an acute demographic problem. It exists all over Europe, but we need to address it. And in this context, I would say every government we had, irrespective of ideology, or they paid attention to the rights of children and rights of women. In response to Ambassador Manalo's reference to CEDAW, CEDAW is a hugely important convention, and I think many Filipinos work on it and work on implementing it, and the international community has a debt towards the Philippines for everything you've done in the area of women's rights. I could tell you that informally amongst us, the Women Ambassadors Group, we have realized that the Philippines is the country with the largest number of women ambassadors anywhere in the world. No other country, we couldn't identify another country that had more women ambassadors than you do. And here I should probably not quote a mentor of mine who said, yes, but in the Philippines, the discrepancy is not men and women, but it's between women that have it all and women that have nothing at all. And this is something we need to think about and to address. So yes, Romania has been active in the area of human rights just because we had such a burden when we got out of communism. We were criticized from everywhere. That's why we will never be the country to criticize first. We will never go to another capital and tell you what to do. We know how difficult it is to improve the human rights record. And we know that you don't do it for another country, for an organization. You do it for yourself, for your society, for the future of your children. I just hope that we'll continue to work together on these issues that are hugely important.
Okay, now I think we can entertain one last question. Yes, sir.
I'm Chanaka from Sri Lanka. First of most, I'd like to thank the FSI and its Dynamic Director General, Honorable Noel Fernandez, for organizing events such as this. And Madam Ambassador Răduţa, I must thank you. I think you are well qualified to talk about nurturing bilateral relations. 3 decades of a happy wedded married life also. So I have a question. Now you were talking about joining groups like the European Union. And when you join a group like that, sometimes the policies can impinge or have a negative bearing on the bilateral relations. I'm talking through personal experience. When we had the conflict, a lot of Eastern European countries were supplying arms to us. When they joined the EU, they say, sorry, we can't supply any more arms. So any thoughts on how you can manage the two, nurturing the bilateral relations, but at the same time being answerable and being in the parameters of the decision made by the bloc? And then, sorry, I will ask another quick question pertaining to Sri Lanka. We have seen a relaunching of the relations between Sri Lanka and Romania, because those days we had very good relations between the Cold War. And then it was at a CDA level. Now it has been upgraded. We have opened an embassy. So in your opinion, you think the relations, what we witness is here to stay, or is it a temporary thing? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Until this moment, I thought that Dr. Chanaka is my good friend. We share, our embassies are in the same building. But he's asking me tough questions. I'll reconsider. Now, thank you so much for these questions. Let me start with the second one. It is easier. Relations with Sri Lanka as well as with the Philippines have been very close. During the time when there was no globalization, we used to trade more than we trade today. Why? Because with Sri Lanka we were part of the communist bloc, and trade in the bloc was encouraged. And with the Philippines it was the similar outlook, the fact that our two people are so much alike. So whatever we wanted to do, we could do. There is room to improve relations with Sri Lanka. We are happy that they reopened the embassy in Bucharest. There was an amazing, beautiful ceremony when you reopened the embassy. We all watched it on the internet. Relations were, revigorated a bit, relaunched with Sri Lanka, based on a very concrete issue. We need labor. We've got capital, we've got ideas, we've got projects, we need labor. Our labor migrates to Western Europe, to the US, where salaries are bigger. And so it was a very narrow focus. But then when a lot of Sri Lankans came to Romania and worked to Romania, they reminded us of all the good relations that we have, of all the things that you have and we don't, and which we can trade, and the other way around. So I think what is called here the OFWs, OSLW, yeah, they were very good ambassadors of Sri Lanka. I think the focus on your part of the world is here to stay, not only for Romania, but for the whole world. Let's hope that the world will be focused on your region for all the good reasons. Touch wood, not the others. So yes, I guess relations will continue. Well, when you join an organization, it's like marriage. You receive some, you give out some. You have to assume the loss and to try to compensate it. I'm not sure that, not selling arms to friends can be examined in isolation. There must be other benefits that I'm sure both Colombo, the authorities in Colombo and Bucharest have identified. I'm sure that we'll have better relations without Romania selling arms to Sri Lanka. I hope that there will be stability in Romania and in Sri Lanka. Yes, I'm very impressed. Dr. Chanaka went to Cambridge or Oxford, or I don't want to enter into a debate with him because he'll beat me. Please, yeah.
It was not Romania. I said the Eastern European countries.
Okay.
So just,
Yeah, I think if we want to do something, we can always do it. If we want to have strong relations, it doesn't matter that we can no longer do a certain trade. We can do many others. We can develop differently. But thank you for difficult questions.
At this point, we would like to express thank you, Your Excellency, and thank you for everyone for an engaging discussion as well. So at this point, we would like to express our sincerest appreciation to Her Excellency for her presence and invaluable insights on our country's relations. Now may I please invite the Foreign Service Institute's Director General Francisco Noel R. Fernandez III to award our simple token of appreciation, one of FSI's publications, Richard Buksani, Magic and Metal, and the Certificate of Appreciation. Allow me to read the citation. The Foreign Service Institute awards the Certificate of Appreciation to Her Excellency Răduţa Dana Matache for imparting her valuable insights and knowledge at the Ambassador's Lecture Series, How Do We Nurture Bilateral Relations? Case Study Philippines-Romania Cooperation, given this 5th day of December 2024 at Citadine Base City, Manila, Pasay, Philippines. Signed, Francisco Noel R. Fernandez III, Director General. Now for our photo opportunity. May I please invite in front Ambassador Rosario G. Manalo, our guests from the Diplomatic Corps and DFA offices, for a photo opportunity with the Ambassador. Once again, thank you, Ambassador Matache, for your presence today. We also appreciate our gracious audience for your active participation and to the organizing team for the time and effort for this project. Before we conclude, just two quick announcements. FSI is committed to continual improvement. Please answer the short evaluation survey with the QR code located at the back of your brochure. We want to hear your honest feedback about our learning session today. To our dear guests, we look forward to having you again at the next session of the Ambassadors Lecture Series. For more details, please follow FSI's social media pages. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the day. Now, kindly do partake of the simple